Why was social media and life so much better in 2014, 2016, maybe up to like 2018 or 19? Well, what happened in 2014? That would be the iPhone 4 coming out, and also the biggest jump in cell phone and social media usage in about the last decade, or maybe the last 2 decades, maybe ever. Certainly was the biggest jump for social media usage amongst mobile devices. So why do we all look at Vine and Instagram in 2014 and YouTube during the same time? Why do we all look at it with so much nostalgia? Why do we miss it so much? It was so magical, wasn't it? Well, here's why. This is what I think. We were still human back then. All right. Social media is rapidly changing us for the worse because it's incentivizing stupid behavior that doesn't make sense in a world without social media. So we're slowly changing and, in my opinion, becoming less human partially because of incentives created by machine learning algorithms, or at least regulated by them. And this isn't, just so you know, this isn't another, blame AI for everything video. I mean, I'm sure machine learning algorithms are part of it, but, social media, all of it has algorithms in common. That's true. But what I'm really trying to get at here is that guys, the reason that we miss early technology so much is, first of all, because we got all of the inheritance at once. We were spoiled. So what do I mean by that? Let's look at Moore's Law. There was a time when Moore's Law was more applicable and we had not run into the problem where Moore's Law broke down due to the laws of physics not being capable of making transistors small enough anymore, which was relatively recent. And in this time, technology seemed more exciting because it truly did double every single year. And something doubling is a lot more noticeable when you are at a lower level, because that is the level that humans are more capable of comprehending. So, for example, if I said that the moon is twice as far away from the Earth this year, you would say, all right, nobody would really be able to actually understand that. We could conceptually understand that the moon is twice as far away from the Earth, and that is a huge distance, but because the moon is already such a far distance away from the Earth by human metrics, we simply wouldn't be able to comprehend it, and it wouldn't really mean much to us. And that has been technology, in my opinion, since about 2015, maybe 2017. At some point, the transistors were already so much anyways that when they doubled, it did not really matter to us because we couldn't even conceptualize it anyways. However, what is that era we're all nostalgic about? We're nostalgic about when the transistors went from 128,000 to Wait, it's not transistors, is it? We're talking about computer memory too. Oh, okay. All right, let's just say transistors, okay? Would it be 250,000 about? I should have chosen a better example. I'm so stupid. Okay, let's just say we went from 60,000 transistors to 120,000 transistors. That is something that humans can clearly see the difference in, and we can conceptualize the difference. Because here's what I'm trying to get at. At a certain point, we have all the computing power we need. Because of the level that a human brain operates at, once we got to, I'd say around 2006, like, we probably had all the computer power we'd ever need as far as a day-to-day human is concerned. Most of us don't really need all that extra power. And you can kind of see that with the iPhone. Who really cares about the new iPhones anymore? Even before the issue we had with Moore's Law, where we ran into a wall with that, it doesn't really matter, because for a while, we had really had all the power we need. Guys, once we had the iPhone 8, weren't we kind of good enough? Like, did we really need the A10 Bionic chip, the A12 chip? Yes, but not really. Like, we would have been fine. But what I'm getting at is, back in those nostalgic years, 2014, we got a big jump in power. We were able to comprehend the big jump in power because it hadn't been so astronomically out of the realm of human comprehension that we were able to appreciate the jump in human power. And the jump in technological power also brought us exactly what we needed. And around the 2014 era, we had a convergence of everything coming together, including cell phone tower technology and 4G. Maybe LTE was around that time. And all of this stuff came together, and we're so nostalgic about it because that was the start of a brand new era. And we were able to do everything we'd always wanted to do, but could never do before. Guys, we could snap each other, Snapchat. We could text message each other. We could now use our phone to go anywhere in the world with navigation. We could use the internet anywhere in the world, essentially. We could post videos of us being silly with our friends and laugh at each other. And most importantly, we all were still human at that point. Because we're past the point of being human. I don't know if you guys know this, but what's the word, post-human? Transhuman. We're becoming transhuman species. I don't like saying that because I hate that it's true, but unfortunately it is. Our phones are an extension of our own brain, and it's been like this for a while now. So, to simplify what I'm trying to say, in 2014, we were bestowed with extra power on top of the already high level of natural human brain power we had developed from having no reliance on phones. Because we never had phones before, we had to use our brain. And so because of that, when we had a phone, life suddenly felt easier. With these new smartphones, life felt easier, more fun. The boundary, the opportunities are limitless. We could do anything. That's how we all felt with social media, Vine, Instagram. Everything was fun and exciting. And that's because we had extra power. But then once we got used to cell phones and relied on cell phones, and now we're starting to rely on AI, we're not happy anymore, because now we are at the same level as a human before having a smartphone. Imagine a human without a smartphone in 2014. We are at the same level mentally with our phone and our brain together than just a human in 2014 with zero phone. Because in 2014, humans had to adapt with no phone to the point where they were using their brain probably a lot more. And so now we're just like a helpless, dumber species of people that grow up being attached and relying on cell phones, AI, and all types of computer processing. And now we all sit around and we wonder why we don't feel like humans anymore. We've incorporated the phone straight into our brain. We need to understand that Apple Watches and wireless earbuds are a very close, something that's somewhat close to Neuralink. So a lot of people are worried about Neuralink, but we don't realize that we already kind of do that. So maybe we don't use our phones all day, but we get a text message on our watch. No matter what we're doing, any time of the day, we can just tap it and talk back to it and send a message. I know people that wear their wireless earbuds literally all day, and they're always inputting information into their brain. So now, we're essentially using our phone without even using our phone. We can still interact with the world, and we're still inputting information into our brain. That is quite a lot like Neuralink, if you ask me. So, a lot of people cannot function without a phone. If you took away their phone, they would not be able to function very well. So think about what that actually means, right? We are using our brains less. We have morphed into the same thing we were before. The only difference is now we rely on our phone more and we use less of our brain because the phone does more of the work for us. Here's a thought. So imagine how happy all of us would be for a couple years if we all had our phones taken away. We went back to the technology of about 2010, and maybe we had flip phones, I don't know. And suddenly, all right, after a lifetime of adaptation in that environment, how much would you use your brain? You'd use your brain a lot. A lot of people can't navigate, myself included, very well by instructions, and would prefer to just pull up their GPS and have the map, their phone tell them where to go. So if we had none of this new technology and we got used to having no technology again, imagine we'd be very smart. We'd all be very smart. We'd use our brains a lot. Now, imagine how happy we'd be if suddenly, after a lifetime of this, we were all given iPhone, what's the newest one? 15? 15? We were all given iPhone 15s and all the technology we have today. Imagine how productive we would be. Okay? Where you're using the amount of a brain that is used to no phone and any technology helping it out. And now you have all these tools. Humanity would probably be super productive. We think it was the best time of our lives. And we'd have a blast because we still would know how to socialize in real life. We don't know how to socialize in real life anymore. This is what I'm getting at. We're not fully human anymore, unfortunately. We've changed and evolved and adapted or something because of technology. And hey, have you ever stopped to consider that maybe that's why we're not so happy anymore? I mean, I do find it interesting that people that live in poverty in other countries where they don't have cell phone infrastructure, it's a very specific variable, but it seems to be quite central. They don't have cell phone infrastructure, or most of them don't have phones that have a lot of processing power. They seem better socialized, they seem happier, and I'm not going to say they're more productive. That's not true. But they do seem better socialized and they do seem happier if you look at these other countries. Maybe weather has to do with that too. I don't know. I'm sure there are some other factors, maybe social factors, but I just find it interesting. And again, have you ever been to a camp or something where they take away your phone? And at first you hate it, but then you look back on it as some of the best times of your life. When I was a kid or a teenager, maybe when I was like 17 or 18, there's some camp where they would take away my phone. And nobody had a phone. And guys, it was some of the best times of my life. So what I'm trying to say is maybe we think that 2014 was so magical because that is the year when social media was the most adopted. That is the year when I'm pretty sure there is the biggest jump in mobile phones, smartphones. And I think that's also the year when we got all of the technology that we had all needed to do what we always dreamed of on social media, on YouTube, etc. Which is good 4G infrastructure. Okay, we remember back then you couldn't just upload a video, and that's why Vine was only 7 seconds, but there was enough infrastructure for us to finally be able to share videos. You couldn't do that before. There was no 4G LTE, there was no 5G, or maybe there was 4G LTE, I don't know. We had the memory we needed to use social media. And most importantly, a lot of people don't remember this, but I'm pretty sure that the iPhone 3GS's camera was really bad. And I'm pretty sure that the iPhone 14 or the iPhone 3GS, both were around that time, had a front-facing camera for the first time. And that changed pretty much everyone's life. But what I'm trying to say is we're not happy and we're not thriving because we can't anymore. We were only going off of social reserves that we had adapted over a lifetime of not using cell phones in day-to-day interactions and in social interactions. We were only going off of reserves that we had left that were slowly diminishing, that slowly died out as the generations got older. And I mean, it's like if you save up money and then you don't have a job anymore and you have fun, well, you're going to slowly run out of your savings. And so when social media was more fun in, say, 2017 or that time, just that whole time period, it's because people still knew how to interact without having social media be present in their mind at all times. And people still knew how to interact with each other on a regular human to human basis, where there was no incentive, there was no money involved, there was no reason. You're only hanging out with that person because you're friends with them. And I know this is a fact because I recently saw the hot knife video with H3H3 and iDubbbz, and you can clearly see the difference in socialization. The amount that everybody's gotten kind of brain rotted, for lack of better words, is unbelievable. The algorithms have shaped our brain in such a way that we don't just make videos to have fun anymore and to be creative. We make videos almost always with some type of purpose in mind, whether it be money or attention or etc., etc., etc. And additionally, the other thing that is making it so we're not even acting like humans anymore is people that have also spent far too much time on the internet having unbelievably ridiculous opinions not based in reality whatsoever, no matter what side of the political aisle you are on. If you have opinions that are not based in reality whatsoever, by sharing those stupid opinions online on the internet, you're making people scared to share their own opinion and be a person with normal thoughts. Because sometimes people with normal thoughts say things that would offend some other person on the internet. Guys, before social media, if you offended somebody, it didn't matter. Like, they weren't likely to say that it offended them. And also, they had no incentive to say that it offended them because it got them no clout, no views, no likes, none of that stuff. Because that's another part of that, is that a lot of people that say they're offended by something aren't actually offended. They're just saying it for attention. They just want to find some type of thing to get upset over, or pretend to get upset over, to get the attention they want or the views they want. We're basically putting false, poisoned data into our own human data sets, which is feedback. So let me say that again. By people being offended at everything online, even when it's not even genuine, because they're looking for views or attention, which is ultimately fueled by an algorithm, we are poisoning humans' own feedback data that would usually be used to make humans connect with each other more, and causing us to communicate far worse. So ultimately, algorithms, which only really exist to make a company profit at the end of the day, are causing humans to have worse feedback data with each other because it's falsified because of algorithmic incentives. And that creates a scenario in which no humans understand how they're meant to behave in a normal, naturalistic world. So being online too often will cause you to behave abnormally, because the feedback data that would usually govern and determine how humans behave is completely faulty at all points of social media. And it causes people to think the incorrect thing. It causes people to not know what reality is. So all in all, I think that's why 2014 to 2019-ish was seen, and 2012 maybe, was seen as a really good time. And ultimately, we sent a man to the moon on a computer that had less power than a pocket calculator. So my question is a philosophical question, and that is, how much power does the human brain really need to get the goals it wants? Why do we need more computer power? Because there is truly almost no real reason to get more computer power besides perhaps finding a cure for cancer or something like that. But as we've seen, just having more power doesn't necessarily contribute to the creative problem-solving skills that only humans are really good at so far. If we were able to go to the moon on a something with the power of a calculator, why do we need so many orders of magnitude more power? And why don't we actually consider stopping at the end of Moore's law and just using the power we have? I know that sounds ridiculous, but I think there should be a philosophical and moral question to how much computer processing power we need. We need to actually make a balance sheet of processing power and the effect on humanity. And we need to actually come to some type of conclusion regarding that and social media as well. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And I know scientific brains will not like that. And I know that we still made the atomic bomb anyways. And they've all got a point, but it almost seems like computer processing power, maybe machine learning algorithms, and especially social media are almost so detrimental to humanity and the human brain, and the way, especially conflicting with the way that we've evolved, that it almost feels as if we should reconsider what we're doing. So that's what I've got to say. By evolved, I meant to say adapted. They're the same thing, but I hope you guys have a good day, and I want to talk about this some more in the future, but I think it's an interesting topic. So thank you guys for listening, and have a good day.